We are live. Boys and girls, gents and young ladies. What's going on out there today? Brent Abel here, webtennis.com. As in, let's see what actually works. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the clickbait. Don't believe any of the stuff out there that says, hey, guess what? I can show you 19 different ways to do something with that volley. So, yes, he's back. That's right. There you go. The Roger Federer. He would be more of a guy to try to copy than anyone else out there. Right. The great Jeff Jacklich, co-founder of goldballhunting.com, co-contributor to 365 days in a row, one episode a day for Gold Ball Hunting. If you haven't been on that website yet, excuse me, got a little bit of that Mice Pies muffin still.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's still working its way down there.
That freshly baked muffin every morning.
I've got to wash it down with that espresso that you like. Anyway, can't remember where I was. Totally lost my train of thought on that whole thing. Anyway, so yeah, look, guys, if you've not been over to goldballhunting.com, highly recommend you do so. Go look at the Gold Ball Hunting YouTube channel if you want the good stuff. 365 episodes. And Jeff Jacklich I think he's got more of a permanent residence now than when we were doing the Gold Ball Hunting thing.
Yeah.
Back then it was Jeff Jacklich playing out of his van.
Yeah. Now living in a van down by the river.
I think it's now Modesto, California.
Yeah.
Teaching tennis in Lafayette, California. So look, he's got a private court there. It's not a club. It's beautiful private court in the backyard of a 1 acre kind of mini estate in Lafayette, California, Northern California.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get the real deal, as who's the guy on the what are those insurance commercials? Does with Rogers, he does with Aaron Rodgers. You know, hey, if you want the real deal.
The Aaron Rodgers deal, or
the Rodgers rate. The Rodgers rate.
The Jake
from
Farm
State Farm. And of course, Aaron says, hey, thanks for the Rodgers rate as he tees off. And he says, thank you so much. I think I'm actually going to let you win today. And he goes, oh, man, there's no Rodgers rate. Everyone gets the same deal. Yeah. And so, no Rodgers rate, huh? So he puts the iron back in, pulls out the Big Bertha, crushes it, and the thing drops in the hole and goes, no Rodgers rate, huh? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, so with that intro, Jeffrey, what's going on this morning, man?
Just a beautiful, just sun starting to come up, beautiful day here in Modesto. Kind of cool this time of year. We get the tule fog in the morning sometimes, so can't get on the court sometimes until mid to late morning sometimes. But that's the time of the year here in NorCal. Lafayette, Walnut Creek can be the same way. Napa, same. It can. Wintertime can be a little bit of a dance, but that's Northern California.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that problem here.
I'm sorry. Where are you again?
Anyway, so look, I think we've babbled enough, and I'm trying to keep this to 7 minutes. I know today we won't, just because you can't. I know that. And I know that all I have to do is ask you one or two questions, and you're off and running for quite a while. I do have to stop at 7:29 Pacific because I've got my day. What's today? The 12th. I got my day 12 of the January 2021 reboot going on at 7:30. So, look, what's on your mind today? I the best title I could come up with is something about if you don't get this right, then nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a loose-lipped title.
Loose interpretation.
Yeah. But anyway, what's on your mind, Jeffrey?
Well, it really, our last couple of conversations, we've kind of dabbled in it, about what are the fundamentals, and that could be a couple bottles of wine and a 3-4 hour conversation. However, we only have about 25 minutes here this morning. So there are at every stage of let's just get down to your swing. Let's just say your forehand, right? At every level of that swing, there are certain fundamental truths that support the next thing that happens within the swing itself. So what I want to talk about today is the fact that if your preparation is inconsistent and not only inconsistent in structure in terms of the way you make your unit turn, or I like to call it your preparation framework, if that's inconsistent, and that inconsistency could be it's too slow. It could be that you're timing that preparation to the speed of the ball, and it could be.
So wait a minute. Hold on for 1 second. That what you said right there is absolutely huge. That your timing for the prep is at the same speed of the incoming ball.
Right. That's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
What happens with that, and if you're playing players that recognize it, they're going to jerk you around all day like a yo-yo. If you're preparing at the same speed of the incoming ball, that means you're always going to arrive just in time to hit the ball. You're never actually working ahead of the game, ahead of the incoming ball. And when you watch the top players play, be it the top, Fed to a national 60s gold baller, you're going to see a high quality of early preparation, which leads then to good spacing, which leads then to the possibility of having a good balanced foundation to hit the ball from. And I think this is where a lot of times, people are so over concerned with their top spin swing, or I got to convert to a modern forehand, or I got to the stroke itself. But the stroke itself is only as good. It can only be as good as the supporting foundation underneath it. And that supporting foundation, again, is one, your ready position. I know that sounds like basic, and yes, it is basic, but that ready position leads you into your foundational unit turn preparation framework. If those two things are not consistent, those are the first two dominoes that have to pass, that have to fall in order for you to actually have the opportunity to get good spacing on the ball. So good spacing is related to that preparation framework. So the percentage of my stroke, let's say success and failure, is directly related to the success and consistency of my preparation framework and getting that done faster than the incoming ball. I hope that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, no, that's good. We've had, there've been a couple of the fellows off the Stanford men's team here, excuse me, who've been practicing for the last couple of weeks here at Mission Hills, and they're practicing right next to the grass courts on Reed's teaching courts, right? Nice. on the hard courts, and that's exactly what that really kind of stands out to me is not only do you see and hear a big tennis ball being hit, but if you reverse engineer where it all starts, right. And what I like to do is watch one of the guys as he gets ready, and you can hear his practice partner making contact, and this guy's hitting a big time tennis ball. I mean, I've never hit a ball half that hard, right? So, but I was watching, knowing that we would talk about this today. The last few days, I've been watching these guys, and it's amazing to me how quickly the prep happens, and it looks like they could kind of go ho hum, hum, and that this incoming ball is just torched. Right. It's just coming in with so much pace and nastiness. And the guy is absolutely waiting, W-A-I-T, just waiting for the ball. Yeah. And so, like you say, then that part's eliminated. Now what happens if there's got to be a minute adjustment with spacing? That's when you do it. But right. I think you nailed it, Jeff. The big problem the players have with being inconsistent is trying to time
Right.
the prep, the turn of the prep, the speed of the prep with the speed of the incoming ball.
It would
Right.
be absurd. I'll use a baseball analogy here. It would be absurd for the batter to step into the batter's box and just stand there, and I'll even give you this much, and just rest the bat like this on his shoulder while the pitcher is going through his windup. And then once the pitcher releases the ball, the batter decides, then now I'm going to set the bat in and try and time my swing and actually have all this stuff fall into place. In tennis,
Well,
literally.
What if you ask the batter to face the pitcher?
Right. Let's add another layer to it. Right. Add that layer to it, which is, and so tennis, we are bound by a very short block of time. That block of time is only, let's say, expanded by the shape of the incoming ball, the flight path of the incoming ball, and how high over the net it's been hit. And, the higher over the net it's been hit, there's pace that's been taken off the ball. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's only a few guys that can, crush a ball at 6 feet over the net, and his name's Rafa. He hits a ball at 5,000 RPMs. He's about 2,000 RPMs faster than everybody else on that, the spin of the ball. So let's not pick at that thinking that that's actually something that we can emulate in our own swing. Harsh reality, people. You can't do it.
Doggone it.
So
maybe there's no video on YouTube I can watch that'll teach me how to do that.
So let's get so the main point of that, though, is that the speed of the incoming ball is always a moving target. That block of time is always shrinking and expanding by little fractions. So the drill I like to do with my students is to say, I need to see you prepped into either side, whatever stroke you're hitting. I want you to use the net as your barometer. Can you actually have your preparation done by the time the ball reaches the net? And you'll be surprised how fast that has to be. But it's a great working tool to start to get ahead of what's going on, where you feel like when you start to prep that fast, there's this weird kind of, time space continuum thing where all of a sudden it feels like the ball is moving slower. And you start to realize, and I've had people they're doing it, and all of a sudden, gosh, it's hard to time the ball, Jeff. God, I have to wait for it. And I'm standing there with this bewildered look on my face going, oh, I'm sorry, you have time to hit the ball now. Sorry. So it is one of the fundamental truths of this game. And I think just so many players waste so much time nitpicking at their swing path, not realizing that they're poking at a symptom, not the actual cause of the problem. Yeah. And so this week, especially two of our students are gold ballers I've had out there this week, for a couple hour sessions each. And it was the primary focus of what we were working on, because we're talking about players that want to get to that next level in the national senior ranks. And they're looking at this as a long-term plan. This is not just, we're going to be there in 6 months to a year. We're talking like, hey, where am I going to be when I hit the 55s? Where am I going to be when I hit the 60s? And so we're looking at this as a very long-term plan, and understanding that we have to build these building blocks along the way, and we have to get enough reps in where they feel where their functionality is automatic. Their brain, this is the way you hit a ball. And I'm not talking about their swing style. I'm talking about the fundamental ingredients that we are all bound by. A good athletic ready position, a fast, efficient, consistent preparation framework. Now that leads to consistent spacing, which leads to, I have stability when I hit the ball. Which leads to, now I got to get recovered and get back to the center of the court, wherever I need to be next, in that, again, good, consistent, ready position. So this string of ingredients, I use the same ingredients that Roger Federer does. Brenny, you use the same ingredients that Roger Federer does. Athletically, we express it slightly differently. Rafa, Djokovic, Serena, you name it. We're all using the same ingredients in exactly the same order. The efficiency of those first few steps, though, is what tells the story for the rest of the stroke.
Yeah.
And so that consistency is just imperative in the whole process.
Well, one thing I remember when you were down here recently playing some doubles, and a couple of days I was an observer sitting there watching. Mm-hmm. But I remember on your return to serve, especially on your forehand, that if the server hit the ball into the net, their first serve in the net, I would always sort of be checking, well, where is Jeff in terms of what you're talking about, the prep, right? And I think I talked about this recently in an episode, which is, look, it doesn't matter if it's singles or doubles. If that server hits their first serve into the net, check to see where your prep is. And most of the time, if you're not really focused on instant prep, what you're going to discover is, I haven't even started turning, or I'm just barely starting to get turned. Right. And what I tell guys is, look, use that as your reference in terms of if you're not exactly where you want to be on that first serve that gets hit in the net, put yourself into the position, put yourself all the way in there so you kind of rehearse it and feel, whoa, I need to be here when that ball's crossing the net. And I remember watching you on that a lot and just seeing that, not only when that server would drill the first serve of the net, that you were all the way ready for it, but you could see it and then of course, when they hit the second serve, it was like, could you get the ball to me, please? Because I don't have all day to wait here.
I was drooling, right?
That's right. So, well, look, I think the other thing to think about too is, and this is great. I mean, I think that you can never, ever overemphasize the importance of early prep so that you can make some minute footwork adjustments if you need to create the right spacing you want. But, I think you're right. There's so much focus on the swing. And that means, and you see this all the time on YouTube videos or Facebook videos where, coaches are feeding balls, which are, look, it's like the prep thing is done, right? Because the incoming feeds are so simple. So the prep thing's already taken care of. So the whole focus is on the swing. Well, look, why don't you spend more time on, because the swing is only, is it 50% of the entire stroke? I mean, the whole prep thing takes, I don't know how much time, but the swing itself, I imagine if we were to measure the time of the swing in relation to the prep is more time. So
yeah, totally.
Let's call it 75%.
And that's what I've been working on with with some of our gold ballers is that's where conditioning and your fitness level really comes into play. Is the input of energy and fuel is at the front end. It's my ready position, my prep, my footwork, my spacing. That's where all this energy, and fuel burning is going on. Where it comes to actually hitting the ball, that's the byproduct, right? So I look at the swing. The swing is basically a byproduct of those first two moves. So how you prep, whatever your stroke is, are you a modern forehand guy, a vintage straight in, straight out, and anything in between? It's all based off of that preparation. So for me, that's the way I kind of like to, put it in those terms, is that your swing path is literally a byproduct of your preparation. So the key in this whole thing, once I've prepped, if the ball's basically coming to me, it's pretty easy to maintain that framework. Now the hard part is if I got to take two steps. And are you maintaining the framework within those two steps to get the proper spacing, right? So if I make a really great, beautiful unit turn to begin with, and then as I take my first step to start to adjust the ball, I collapse and my hands collapse and that framework collapses, I've just thrown a wrench in the works. Yeah, Mr. Hey, let me get that in here. Let me get that little flare up there.
Let me look really, Mr. Casual on that forehand.
Right. It's
Oh.
wait a minute. I got to get in the right space here, like this. Let me go like this, and Brenny likes to get that little flare up there on the forehand.
A little flare up on top. That's right.
So,
words of Mr. Stowe.
So that's what I'm. Yeah, stop it. so that's what I'm talking about when I say the consistency of that preparation framework. Now, you got to hold on to that while you're adjusting to the ball, and so that's the next level of why your stroke is successful or why it might fail.
Yeah.
Is that it's not enough just to get there initially. I need to hold on to it while I'm adjusting to the ball.
Well,
and again, that's what you're watching when you watch Fed, Djokovic, Serena, whoever. Agassi was a great example of that. It's really, I'd say this though. If you're watching Fed, very difficult to separate the moves. He's so smooth. He's just so fluid in his moves. He's I like to call him, he's the Baryshnikov of tennis. Very difficult to see the breakdown of the moves. Where Serena, it's phenomenal how quickly she just, boom, she's into that position and she just holds it as she adjusts to the ball, and then of course murderizes it. Agassi is another one. You can see the separation of the moves, and so when you're looking for it, don't come crying back and say, well, Fed doesn't do it. Yes, he does. It's just harder to distinguish the move because he's just so smooth.
Yeah.
The other thing, let's not forget, when you're watching the pros, guess what? They're pros. If you're watching Fed, Djokovic, Rafa, Serena, Agassi, whoever, they are the best athletes in the world. They have trained day and night, 24/7, to be able to do what they do. So let's not mince words here. I don't have the time, the physical capability for the rest of my life to put in the work to be able to hit a completely secure, new, modern forehand, to adjust my stroke, to get that work done. It's just not, it's not a reasonable thought. But what we're talking about today is something you can start to work on, and it will improve your stroke production. Brenny, you played tennis as a junior. You played the bulk of your career though as an adult though, but you put in the hours and the grind part of it. I played as a junior and then D1 and blah blah blah, played the tour and did all this stuff. But as a junior, this is where when you play the senior events, why the guys at the top of the senior game, most of them, not all, but most, played some junior tennis, had full-time coaching to some degree, played probably Division I ball at least, and maybe some of us, not all of us, but some played the tour a little bit. The weekly, daily work that we put in as a junior is just not, you can't put a price on it. So there are certain things that we do because we did at that time in our lives have the daily work of having somebody yell at us, ready, make your turn, and just the hammering every day of that mind-numbing repetition. And that is one of the things, unfortunately, if you're a senior player trying to make that move, that's where I think a lot of time should be spent, because you don't have that work under your belt. You just don't have it. And so that's a harsh reality of this game, playing at a higher level as an adult if you didn't play as a junior. There's certain things that you just don't have in your skill set yet. And it's how much work you can get done between now and however much time you put in the game.
I think that most coaches, most teaching pros, most club pros don't emphasize racket prep enough, because it's kind of boring. It's kind of boring work.
Oh, it's
and as opposed to hitting the tennis ball, which is kind of exciting and all this. So I think it also gets back to if you don't have great racket prep, spacing, then the game becomes improvisation. The swing becomes
Right.
improvisation, and no one's out there teaching you, well, on the semi-topper rally ball, forehand rally ball, there's actually 1,738 types of forehands because I don't teach racket prep. I don't teach spacing. I teach improv.
Right.
So, which is, I mean, and look, Owen's asking a good question here. He's saying, how does wind, let cord, partner movement affect early prep and framework? And my thought on that would be, assuming that you're not having to do a full out dead sprint for a drop shot, or if you're way off in the alley and you got to run to the other alley. I mean, part of it is just, well, what's the most natural way to run to get there? But at some point you got to be prepping so that you can create as good a spacing as possible. I mean, we're not talking about the extreme here of hitting a topspin forehand. We're talking about the standard racket prep. And my belief too is that a couple things come into play here, Jeff, is if someone really works on early racket prep and feels that sense of, I've got a little bit more time, then one of the things that's going to come into their minds is going to be, well, I've actually got a couple more shot choices. Okay. That's in one sense a good thing, but in another sense is just choose the first one that comes in. Just not only get the turn and the racket prepped early, but choose the shot you're going to hit and tell the guy, hey, I'm going standard cross court.
Right.
So what is this game a big, it's all about, I don't know. So anyway, look, we got 3 more minutes here, Jeff. And I want to first of all say, always fun to have you on. And good stuff again today. One thing you and I were talking about yesterday in preparation for this was, let's say that this year, 2021, and we're talking, you and I with the gold ball hunting, we're talking to the tournament players out there who really are serious about doing whatever it takes to maybe get in the hunt for a ball, to start by getting at least into the quarterfinals of a Category 1 tournament, to where you got a shot at getting into the semifinals, which is when you have a chance to, play for the bronze, the silver, or the gold. So let's say 2021 is an exact replica of 2020 in terms of tournaments are primarily off the table for I don't know how long. And one of the pillars that you and I have always talked about is, how do you become a better player? Well, we've talked about technique. You and I believe less technique is better. We talk about tactics and strategies, which are kind of patterns, right? Yeah. Based on your skill set, whatever that is. We talk about the mental part of the game. How do you manage the 80% of the match, which is between points and on side changes? The fourth thing is physicality. Such a controllable. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you be not only the most fit guy in that match, but of all the guys entered? Why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
And then, of course, the other thing is we talk about experiences, and experiences are, can you go ahead and shove as many matches as possible into your calendar? Matches meaning the ones that are made public. And so knowing that maybe we can't do that again this year,
right?
What's the next best thing? And you and I were talking about, okay, rather than inviting someone over, or let's even start with the worst case, rather than playing with the same guy on court 4 in your comfy confines over and over and over again, thinking that you're working on your game, why not, start with inviting someone who you've never played before, have them come over to your club, and then do a home and home. See if the guy will reciprocate. And maybe it's a guy from a public park, even better, because you might even have to climb over that fence with COVID going on. They've got everything locked up. Courts haven't been washed in like 17 years.
Bring your bolt cutters. You might have to cut the lock to get in.
Right. Exactly. And just start putting yourself into playing a ton of sets, a ton of matches, and mixing in the opponents, mixing in the venues, mixing in the weather conditions, mixing in the surfaces. If you can get on a clay court, if you're primarily a hard court player, find out how to do it. There's got to be a clay court somewhere. I mean, look, even in California, Northern California. So
for sure. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the broad spectrum of more experiences with a broad spectrum of variables, right? The public court is how close are those courts to the street? Is it a busy expressway?
Are there no windscreens? I mean, is
the hum of the cars? Is the honking car? Is there 2 or 3 cars in the parking lot with alarms going off and all that stuff? And it just baffles me when I see players, at tournaments that are just having fits because there's a car alarm going off in the distance. And it's like, really? Your concentration is that fragile?
Right.
And your whole being is that fragile that's going to be your story today, why you lost. Because some idiot had their car alarm on. Like, really? I mean, so for me, playing all those experiences, you can start off when you play your match at your home club, pick the court that you hate and go play on that court. Stop playing on your favorite court. Start playing on the one court that makes you the most nervous or causes you the most irritation. Or I hate playing on center court because people watch. Guess what? Sign up. Go play on that court. When you play your friend's court then at his club, whatever. I mean, play on that court. If you never played there or whatever, you don't have a favorite there. So whatever court you get is the court you get. And like you said, public courts, all those things. And when you go play, be prepared to be present and accounted for the whole time you're on the court. Am I working on something today? Am I working on patterns today? Am I working on my preparation today while I'm playing a set? Very difficult thing to do, but guess what? The payoff is huge. So give yourself something to do in those practice sets. Work on things. I'm a firm believer in constraints, but just doing some fundamental basic stuff. Can I be in a ready position when my opponent hits the ball all day today? That's it. Don't even worry about the turn. Can I be ready to react when my opponent is about to hit the ball? That's my focus today for this first set. And maybe it goes pretty well. So, okay, listen, I'm not going to worry about anything else today. I'm going to do that again for this second set. So you're absolutely right, Brenny. This is the kind of stuff that you can get done in a non-tournament season and just get more sets under your belt. Stop playing, Billy and doing what you always do to beat Billy. Come up with a new plan to beat Billy. Because guess what? You don't play Billy every round in a tournament. In fact, Billy probably doesn't even play tournaments. But you know how to beat Billy. And boy, it makes it's great for your ego that you beat Billy 6-2, 6-2 again. But it doesn't really move the meter when you go play a tournament. You might play players that might be similar to Billy, but there's always going to be another variable in there. So can you come up with another good plan to beat Billy? So start challenging yourself to do these things and to push yourself into being a player attitude that says, I have to be a solution-based player. And what's in my toolkit that allows me to create the solution.
Yeah. Well, look, this is where you learn about your game. You don't learn about your game just hitting off the ball machine, hitting off the wall, drilling cross court, playing the same guy over and over. You don't learn about what you really need to work on in your game. And so
right.
The experience part, I mean, that's why we encourage if COVID wasn't restricting us, we would tell you, let's get on the internet. Let's take a look at the tournament schedule in your local area and let's just fill up your calendar. And that's where you learn about, wait a minute, you know what? My topspin forehand actually is good. That guy that I take lessons from who's insisting that I have to go a hybrid semi to full Western forehand and windshield wipe it, where I can't really do it. But when I get in the match, I play kind of a semi topper. It actually works out okay. But this other part of my game, which I've never worked on with my club pro, it shows up in matches. It's not good. That's what I need to work on. And when I go back to my guy and I say, well, here's what I need to go, no. We need to keep, torquing, ripping.
Just keep massaging that forehead.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, I got to scoot. I've run over here. As always.
Yes,
All right,
sorry.
Jeffrey, always good, man. Hope we can get you back on again sooner than later. Owen, I'm not sure we answered your question. We quickly got off the topic, but
Owen, just do what I told you last time.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys, listen, thanks for hanging out with us today. Any comments, any questions? 3 ways you can do it. Number 1, you can just drop it down here in the comments area, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. Number 2, you can direct message me on Facebook. And the third one is Brent@webtennis.com. I think Jeff, you're at Jacklich365.com.
Boom.
All day, every day, 24/7, 365. Yeah. Leap years, maybe not. He takes one day off on that 366. But all right, guys, get out there today. Help someone else have a great day. See you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Brenny.